G'day guys, what's cracking? It's Ralph here. Today we've been a little bit naughty, come somewhere I shouldn't be, to take an epic photo that I'm already stoked about and we're not even there yet. So, well, here we are. So I'm on the 4-story rooftop of a motel or hotel we're staying in that I was not impressed by, that we only had 4 stories. But it turns out that it's on the edge of a valley and looks over Hobart. And I don't know if you can see this. This is the sunrise. About to smash all sunrise records. And I'm right here. And I'm set up and good to go. And I'm so thrilled because it's an hour before sunrise and the sky's already filled with some reds and some beautiful pinks and even a bit of pink and orange. Oh, so good, and magenta. So at the end of this video I'm going to show you the time lapse that I've taken on my GoPro of this shot whilst I talk you through what I'm doing. Now here's the setup. This is all glass. I've got to whisper because I'm not sure I'm allowed to be up here, right? See, this is all glass, but there's gaps in the glass. So I'm shooting through a gap in the glass. This is a 20mm that I've got on. I've got my Z9 on. I don't like doing landscape with my Z9. The Z8 is on its way, and that will be wonderful. It's just a big camera to maneuver, and I realise for some of you it's hard to relate, but I'm just going to use all the basic functions you would on any other camera. I think there's something on the roof too. It's going to leap out and kill me in just a minute. So I've got my 20mm on. It's a F-mount lens with a FTZ2 adapter, which you need for the Z9. The FTZ1 doesn't do the job. And got the camera, and then I've set my tripod up. I still use, like every time I travel, and most times I go out to shoot, the Ulanzi 0Y travel tripod, and it has just been gold, and it carries this unit easily. And I use the wall like this as a 4th tripod. So I make the first 2 legs, I make these 2 legs shorter, see that's shorter, so that the last leg is longer and can prop it up, and so I have 4 stationary points to make sure this shot is as stable as possible. I'm going to shoot a bit and then I'll get back to you. So the sky's just getting better and better, and it's getting thinner and pinker right up to the top, which I'm super stoked about. Let me just turn like this so you can see and enjoy it while I chat to you. Now every lens has a sweet spot of aperture, and it's usually smack bang in the middle, so it's between 9, 10 or 11. And what that means is when you shoot on that aperture, you get the very best quality of photo. And so most landscape photos, when you can, shoot 9, 10 or 11 aperture. So right now I've got it on a 9, and I've focused on these street lights. See these street lights just here? Because something needs to be in focus. And I used to focus over here, but with this, the thing that complements the brilliant sunrise is the fascination of this beautiful foreground. And the foreground is the street, the main street that runs kind of along the bay. So what I've chosen is an aperture of 9. At the moment my ISO is on 64. The equivalent will be 100, it doesn't really matter. But I can shoot 90 seconds on this. So for some of you might need to use a bulb or a thing and a timer, or just use the time button. You press the time, set it to the function, so after bulb on the shutter it goes to time, and you press time once and it opens, and then when you press it again it closes. So I never realised that. Anyway, you can use that 2-second timer, take all the shake out of it. I'll poke the lens through the glass, and I'm just set up in the perfect position. And what I'm going to do is take photos every 5 minutes and show you the graduation of the sunrise as we go through. So as the sun's coming up, what I've realised is I need to change my composition. I'm shooting dead out to the water, but there's this cool like bell tower, church steeple just out here, which I've got dead centre of the frame because the sun and the colour is just exploding over here. The whole shot felt a little bit skewed. It felt like, felt like as you're watching it, you're just like, I just want to turn. So I've just turned, and I'm doing that now. Again, 2/3, bottom third is land, 2 top thirds are sky, and here's a taste. That's what my viewfinder can see, and I've got it on a 60-second timer. Very, very excited. That's before editing. It's just boom, straight out of the cannon. I find with sunrise photography, you need to get there like an hour and a half before the sun comes up to get some of this glow. Like the sun is still miles away from coming up, and oh, look at it, so good. I think you should compose the photo based on what the sky is doing rather than the ground. Because at the end of the day, people are going to look at the sky first and then reflect on the ground, rather than looking at the ground and going, oh, that's nice, should have a nice sky. Oh, there's the sky. I then think every 5 minutes you have to change a stop in your camera, because the light comes up that quick that it affects this. And so when it's like this, it's nice. You get an extended exposure, and what that does is it makes some of the clouds soften and kind of blur and look really, really cool. Whereas later on, when there's too much light and you've got a really quick shutter speed, you just capture the cloud as you can see it, rather than a nice added blur to it, which is fine. So what I imagine will happen now is, in a little bit, this will glow, this will fade, and then it'll pop again as the sun comes up. It's funny how it does that. It's kind of 2 bursts. But they have these beautiful pinks, and look at all that. Oh, so good. So I've been changing and mucking about with my composition, but the challenge I have is I have these 2 bits of glass here and here that limit me, and then I have this wall. And so if I go too far over here, I hit the glass. If I go too far over here, I get the glass in the shot. So you just got to keep these things in mind, and you work with what you got. And if I hadn't have shown you, you wouldn't have known the limitations, or even where I was. You'd think, wow, he's on top of a mountain, that's incredible, rather than a little bit of a hotel with 4 floors. There's this idea in photography of preserving your highlights. Your highlights are these yellow bits right here. They're the brightest part of your photo. And the idea behind preserving your highlights is to get the most detail and quality out of your photo later on. When you edit it, you want to make sure that these can still be edited, and if they're too bright, you can't edit them. They get to a point of whiteness where they just get stuck, and it doesn't matter how much you dull them, it just makes it dull white rather than reduces the vibrancy of it. And so I select my exposure, my total overall exposure, based on preserving the highlights, which often with a sunrise or a sunset means you underexposed to get more out of the color, because there's yellow in this, and if you don't take that seriously, you lose the yellow and it turns to white. So you need to underexpose, which is really good, because underexposed means a longer shutter time, and I prefer a longer shutter time, especially in this shot. We have a lot of streets, and so there's a few streets. There's a key street coming in on my left, and there's a street running through the photo, and I can get light trails if I time that right. And so I've just been banging off shots probably every 2 minutes as the sunset has kind of matured. I've got to go because it's just turned epic again. So epic is this sunrise turning out to be that I've gone through 2 lenses. So I'll put my 70 to 200 on, and then I put my 24mm to my 24 to 70 on. I've got my GoPro, as we've talked about, and then I'm using my vlogging camera. I took a few shots on that, and then I just framed up this shot. It's turned it on. I haven't had a sunrise like this I don't know how long, so I'm so stoked. And you kind of get FOMO. It's like, oh, if I were just over there, I was just here. But I'm here and the sky is magnificent. You know, so many times you wake up, you got work or you're tired or whatever, you wake up, you look at Insta, you're like, oh, that happened over my house today. should have got up. And then you do get up and nothing happens. But today, oh, I realised the colours are all blown out and crappy on the iPhone, but you can see it's glorious, right? It's just glorious. So I'm mucking about with different lenses and different things. Just wanted to jump on and explain that to you. Don't be afraid, I can go telephoto, and there's a little church steeple and I went straight in on that, and then I went kind of wide and I shot a pano and I gotta go. Now I'm back on the 20mm. I know it's ridiculous because the lights like come up here. You just have to get, it's got these beautiful streaks. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Like what the heck? So good. And so I've lined up the steeple right in the middle of the shot because the sun is coming up behind the steeple of all the days, of all the positions. So thankful. And then what I'm doing is every shot I'm taking it down a third of a stop. So I'm going to click down a third or 2/3 of a stop, click down a third or 2/3 of a stop to get a range of different shades of color, so that when I put on my computer I find that when it looks different on the computer than it does on the back of your camera. So being aware of that and making the most of that, so you can get a number of different shades. So at the moment this is really dark, this is really light, as you can see where this phone is exposing for this, not for this. And so in my photo, this is dark, this is light, this is perfect. So if I take a number of exposures here, I can get some of the detail and some of the beauty out of here, as well as capturing this when I put it all together at the end. Do you see the sacrifice of making for you guys that whilst the sun is going mental on chatting to you, you're probably like, just talk to us afterwards. There is something about being closer to the South Pole, and some of you may be able to explain this to me. This sunrise is lasting forever. At home, it's like, boom, and you got to be on it. That's 2,500 k's north. You're on it, you miss it, you're like, bugger. But this, I can take my time, I can vlog and chat to you, I can set up other cameras, I can put different lenses on. It's unheard of at home, it literally is. But here, it's still going, and we're still 15 minutes off the sun coming up, and then we're probably another 10 minutes off the sun coming over that mountain ridge, because that mountain ridge is blocking, like is higher than the horizon where the sun comes up. So, just going to keep on enjoying it. If you like this video and you're about to see the images, and I'm sure you'll like them, please subscribe, like the channel, like the video, like me. It doesn't matter really, does it? I just love sharing this journey with you and just taking you out with me, or showing you stuff I'm learning, or exposing you to new gear. And so if that's something you're into, then this channel and me is maybe what you're into. You can even join the channel if that's something you want to do. And we're just going to spend a bit of time now just enjoying these images and the time lapse. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and you can get out to see a sunrise like this and get your mind blown. Thanks everybody. See you later. Bye.